well, we've made it to the midpoint of the course, and as I promised, 4th of July week is going to be a little lighter for you. So that's something to celebrate along with our country's freedoms. Okay, you have the freedom of time this week as well. Here's what's going on. The things that we're going to be doing this week are sort of sharpening the saw type activities. In other words, they're things that hopefully when you go into your research paper, then you'll feel like the dust has brushed off some skills that you may have not used for a while or that you would like to refine. The first item on the assignment list, there's 3 assignments, and basically no reading, and we'll get to that in a second. The first assignment is a buffet of grammar exercises, and you're going to choose which assignment you prefer. I need to go and double check to make sure their pages are right. If pages don't seem to be lining up in your Erin text, we just switched over to the newer edition. I might go ahead and leave 2 versions of this assignment in there for the old edition and the new edition, just to kind of be aware of that. I've got to go in and do some housekeeping this morning to make sure that's what it needs to be. But basically, you'll be choosing from a selection of different writing issues that not all of them are really grammar related. Some of them are more writing and idea related. And you'll choose one and do the exercise in the textbook. We're going old school on this, okay? The second item is an APA exercise, and by the standards of the college, we need to have an introduction into APA. We're not going to be using APA for our final paper, but I thought this would be a good break in the course to kind of think about it a little bit. APA is another way of citing sources, and you're going to find that it's very similar to MLA. So on that note, the exercise is just going to ask you to do a comparison contrast, find similarities and differences between MLA and APA. And again, all of your resources for this are in the Erin textbook. And then finally, exercise 53.1 on page 428 in the textbook in Erin is a plagiarism exercise. And just straight up, just kind of want to remind us what it takes to properly cite and avoid plagiarism. You guys have been doing a great job with this, and this isn't one of those things. This is one of those things I planned to put in the course from the beginning, as you know. So it's just kind of a good reminder, because I believe a lot of plagiarism happens accidentally or happens because we're trying to crank out papers fast, and fast sometimes leads to sloppy note-taking or sloppy citations, basically record keeping. Okay, so there's no reading this week, and the exercises are lighter, but following this week, just to kind of put this in the context of the whole course, by the end of, by July 15th, you'll be having your research proposal completed, and by proposal, I do mean that you'll have your list of sources, your thesis statement, and your outline. So that's a lot. By the 21st of July, you'll have your paper rough draft written, and the final draft by, I believe it's the Wednesday the 24th, okay? This is a lot, and it's going to come fast. So this week, with your lighter workload, you may want to start doing some preliminary research and topic finding. Some of you have started talking about this already. If you want to toss topics out to me to see if something will work, that's fine. I already mentioned a little bit about what I'm looking for in the topic on our last video. The stipulations that are firm are that it needs to be persuasive or problem solving. It needs to take that kind of position or purpose as you're writing it. So it needs to be a topic that isn't just informative, but that takes a persuasive or problem solving position edge in your thesis statement. Alright, a couple things just about the last paper that I graded. I have not yet graded your illustration essays. Some things I'm noticing in your literary essays. You're doing a great job of talking about the reading in a way that captures the essence and yet gives us enough information that if somebody hadn't read the work that you're referring to, they would get it, and that's great. I'm noticing a lot of you still using the word you. And you is problematic because you is used instructionally, and if it's not used instructionally, it can be very alienating. For example, you could say something like, you know when and the person who's reading your paper says, I don't know when, okay? The other consideration that I want you to look at in your research writing is the use of cliches. And one of those cliches that I see in probably 75% of the papers I read is something that makes a comment like, in today's society or nowadays. These comments are, I see what we're doing as writers. We're trying to say this is a problem of the times. But oftentimes, what we're saying isn't really a society thing, it's a people thing. Or it could be said in a way that's more creative and gives it more of a clear sense of argument than by falling back on nowadays or in today's society. This is one example of a cliche, but it's just one I want to bring to your attention. And overall, we're doing a great job with this. So keep on making sure your citations go beyond just quoting. Citations are needed for paraphrasing as well. And I'll keep reminding you that through the research process as we become more and more heavily researched in our writing. I look forward to looking at your work this week, and if you have any problems at all, you know how to reach out to me. If you need my attention quickly, and especially if it's on a weekend, definitely use my Northwest State email because it comes to my phone. If you have an assignment you're turning in late, and that's something we've already talked about or whatever, or something that's giving you fits and it won't let you submit an assignment, please turn it into Sakai, because when I go to grade, I'm all in Sakai. I have to go into a whole different interface to get into my Northwest State email. So it's just easier for me to get to your stuff if I can have it right there in Sakai. And if it's a question that you think that peers could probably answer, do use those forums. I think they can be useful for that. Have a great week and enjoy your holiday.